The NFL has plenty of rules, many of which I agree with, but there are always going to be some disagreements, and I figured why not make a video where I give my 10 rules I would change if I could. Now, I might have some more like crazy out-of-the-box ideas that would never ever, no one would ever agree to, that I think should be changed, so I'm not doing those. All I'm doing is 10 rules that I think realistically could be changed, like in the next 10 years or so, that I think should be changed. So, yeah, these are in no particular order. Let's just get into the 10 rules that I would change if I was in charge of the NFL. Let's just get into it. The first one is the always contested fumble out of bounds in the end zone, which is, it's just kind of a weird thing that if you fumble the ball out of bounds at the 1 yard line, you keep possession and get it at the 1 yard line. If you fumble the ball out of bounds and then it bounces, into the end zone, then out of the end zone, then all of a sudden it's, just a fumble and the other team gets possession. That feels a little weird. I feel like everyone loses their mind with this argument too. Like no one ever gives good arguments. It seems like with this stuff, it seems like people that like it kind of just like the novelty of it and think it's exciting. But it does feel like it's it's just kind of a weird thing. My fix is always like, listen, it doesn't have to mean that if you fumble out of bounds in the end zone, you maintain possession. It could just mean if you fumble out of bounds anywhere on the field, then the other team gets the ball. Like that's to me honestly, maybe even a better fix there. It helps defenses. It makes the game more exciting. Like, I don't hate that as an idea. If you fumble the ball and don't recover it, well, it's the other team's football. Like that's something you could do. Although realistically, I think what'll probably end up happening is if you fumble it out of bounds and it rolls, if it rolls out of bounds in the end zone, you're going to maintain possession and just get it at the spot that you fumbled would probably make the most. That would probably make the most sense to me. I don't know. It's just kind of a weird rule that is there. But yeah, that's what I think. Overtime rules are always going to be talked about on these videos. I do have, real quick overtime. I actually think they did a pretty good job with fixing the overtime rules in the playoffs. Like, I like those rules. I do. Now, I think I have some slight tweaks that I would make. So my kind of two tweaks. For one thing, overtime rules exist in the regular season as well. And some people have said, well, couldn't that create more ties? That's fine. I think that's fine. Like, the goal is to make a fair overtime, and if that results in more ties, then, I don't know, ties aren't the worst thing in the world. I don't have an issue with ties. I think that, we should try to, have the games won or lost, but if it creates more ties, it creates more ties. I think having the fairer new, the postseason overtime rules existing in the regular season as well feels fair to me. The other thing I would do is I would make the home team always get to win the coin toss in overtime. To me, that would be a part of home field advantage. It's just similar to how, in hockey, home team gets, last line change. A lot of baseball, you get a bat second if you're the home team. A lot of sports have actual in-rule advantages to the home team. To me, this is what football would do. Makes it more fair and gives you more of a reason to try to get higher seeds, as in the playoffs, you would want to be able to get to choose. You would want the home field advantage. In the Super Bowl, home field advantage technically changes, but the coin toss would go to whichever team had the better record in the regular season. Next up, I'm getting rid of automatic first down penalties. They're completely gone. No more automatic first down. It's only a first down if you get the yardage you need. So if it's a 3rd down and 5 and let's say there's a 3rd down and 7 and there's a 10-yard penalty, well, then you get the first down. But if it's a 3rd down and 7 and it's a 5-yard holding penalty, now it's a 3rd down and 2. If it's a 3rd down and 20 and there's a 15-yard penalty, now it's a 3rd and 5. Because really, automatic first downs doesn't really make any sense. It kind of goes against what football is all about. Like, the whole point is you have to get to that line. I don't get why we change it, especially for some penalties and not for other penalties. It's a very weird thing. So I think getting rid of them altogether, that's something I would do. Next up is the Sky Judge. Now, the NFL has kind of implemented this a little bit. They do have now a judge that is, watching the game on monitors and can, quickly pipe down to the refs and say, hey, let's change this. But they can't do it for every penalty. There's only specific it's similar to like instant replay where there's only specific penalties you can do it for. I'm saying let's just allow it for all of it. I think some people are worried this could slow the game down, but it actually does the opposite because it means that there's less of these long reviews. because, very quickly you see that the receiver was actually out of bounds. Well, then the sky judge can change it on the spot, and now no one wants to challenge it because they think that the sky judge got it right. Again, this isn't something that you're not reviewing every play. It's simply just having somebody who's in the booth watching the game, watching what we're seeing with a bunch of different angles, who has a Bluetooth headset, can communicate to the refs. It's just having an extra ref, essentially, except they're watching the monitors, which is something that, I think makes sense and has worked in other football leagues, so I think it would work here as well. Next up is cut down on roughing penalties. This is something that gets a lot of people frustrated, and listen, I'm not suggesting they go back to 20 years ago or anything like that. I actually think most of these roughing penalties have been a smart addition. Protecting the players is smart. There's already so many injuries. It's already such a physical sport. I'm not someone who thinks that football was better when guys were getting concussions every play. No. I think a lot of the player safety stuff, and even forget about concussions, but even the other stuff, protecting the players, making it more entertaining product, I think is cool. But sometimes it gets a little crazy, right? I mean, the body weight rule, I don't think should never be a penalty, but I think should be a lot less frequent. I think it really should be if it's an intentional decision to use your body weight to get the quarterback down, or you didn't have to do it and did it anyway. That could be a penalty, but other than that, I don't think it should be a penalty. You got to be able to tackle quarterbacks. You do. There's enough good quarterbacks. If an extra one a year you get banged up for a couple games, that's okay to make the overall sport better. Just roughing the passer in general, I think, needs to be clearer defined. Forget about how much you call it. It should be something where when you watch the replay, you can say, yes, that was the correct call, or no, it was the incorrect call. And one thing that might help with that, too, is if there's a sky judge who can help out with those things and tell the ref to pick up the flag or not. Also, one pet peeve of mine, if you slide, a lot of responsibility should be on you to get down. I think that sliding right before a defender hits you, the defender kind of slides into your helmet because their momentum is taking you there, and then they get flagged, is kind of annoying. I think that you should, if you're the one who's giving yourself up, it's your responsibility to protect yourself. But it feels like the guys want to get the first down and then slide at the last possible second to get as much yards as possible. Well, if you do that, you should have the risk of getting hit. There should be a bit more of a buffer defenders get in those situations, in my opinion. Next rule, this is, I believe, my seventh rule, but again, they're in no particular order. Defensive pass interference can also be 15 yards. There are some people who feel like it shouldn't be a spot foul at all. College doesn't have it as a spot foul, but I don't know. For me, I feel like if you throw it 50 yards down the field, it was going to be a catch if it wasn't for the penalty. A 15-yard penalty doesn't really feel fair in that situation. So I like the idea of it having the ability to be a spot foul, but I also feel like there are times when man, that shouldn't be 50 yards down the field. I think making it a 15-yard penalty instead, kind of, having the option of a minor pass interference, that's what you can call it, minor pass interference, 15 yards, that feels more fair for me. Also, this isn't one specific rule, but kind of a general, kind of similar to the roughing thing of I'd be more lenient on the defensive pass interference rules, not just with the underthrown deep ball situation, which I actually have a whole video made about that. That's going to be coming out right around when this video comes out, so be on the lookout for that. If you're interested in a deep dive in that, but just in general, the defensive pass interference rules of defenders can't really do a lot at this point to protect themselves. Feels like a lot of times receivers can kind of just push the defender away, get open, and make the catch. I think the defensive backs should have a bit more of ability to create some contact, because essentially, I don't love that football is basically who has the best quarterback right now. It didn't used to always be this way. It's not like all of a sudden, Tom Brady and Mahomes were just so much better than Terry Bradshaw's a bad example. Joe Montana, for example. Usually it was football, it was a legitimate strategy to have a good running game and have a good offensive line and, build through the trenches and that kind of thing. Now, it's so much easier to pass that, there's basically just one strategy. If you don't have a good passing attack, you're not winning a Super Bowl. You're just not at this point. So I think making it tougher to throw could make the running game more important and hopefully, I feel like, make a more balanced product. I don't know if that's what the NFL wants, but again, if I could change the rules, that's what I would do. A smaller one, make it possible to advance a muffed punt or onside kick. I don't like that rule. I don't like that you can't advance a muffed punt or onside kick. I don't like it. I want to have the scenario of if you muff a punt and guy recovers it, they can get a touchdown. That's fun. It's chaos. I don't get why it's a rule anyway that you can't do that. That's what I would do. And while we're on the subject, I think get rid of the automatic touchbacks on kickoffs. They don't actually protect anybody. And I like the idea of the potential weird onside kick way down the field situation every now and then arising. So I would do that as well. And finally, this is another smaller one. Allow the refs to let something play out before making a ruling on it. So what I mean by this is, let's say there's this scenario where a wide receiver, it looks like they caught a pass, but you're not exactly sure. Or let's say it looks like they didn't catch a pass, but you can't tell for sure. It hit the ground kind of right before they caught it is what it looks like, but you can't say for certain. You didn't have the perfect angle on it. What you should do is whistle to play dead. You thought it was an incomplete pass. That's what you should do. However, if you do that, what if the receiver was about to run 40 more yards and get a touchdown, and on the replay, it turns out that the receiver actually did make the catch, and now you just cost them a 40-yard touchdown? So, a lot of times what they tell you to do in this situation is actually don't say what you think happened, and instead say, well, I think that was actually, I think that was, I think the pass hit the ground, but I can't say for certain, so I'm just going to let it play out. I'm just going to let the receiver run, get the 40-yard touchdown, and then we'll review it, which, okay, that makes sense. The issue in this hypothetical situation is that what if there isn't an angle to actually tell if the ball hit the ground or not? Well, now the ref who thought that it hit the ground is essentially making the wrong call because, again, ruling on the field is what it goes back to if they don't have a clear angle. For me, my fix for this is the refs can essentially say, we'll let this play out. I'm going to call this on the field right off the bat. I'll say it's a catch, let everyone play it out, and then immediately after say the ruling on the field is it wasn't a catch. The ruling on the field is incomplete pass. So that way, that's still the ruling on the field. That's what affects the, that's what affects the review and all of that if there is a review. But at the same time, you're still getting if it's ruled a catch now and it is getting overturned, well, then you still get the full touchdown instead of having to just get the ball where the catch was. This would be a potential fix for the Miles Jack wasn't down situation if in the Jaguars Patriots conference championship. So yeah, those are my 10 rules. Let me know, what rules did I miss? What would you have put on the list? And what rules do you disagree with? What rules do you think the NFL actually has right and I'm being too hard on them? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching. Also, realized I forgot to record it, so putting it now. Taunting, no longer a penalty. That one goes about, don't need much more explanation on that. No matter what you do, taunting isn't a penalty. You can still get thrown out of the game if you do something absolutely egregious, but the taunting penalty, no more. So, that's it. Goodbye.